Chapter 2. The First Signs. The familiar chaos of school life greeted Tadano as he walked toward his classroom. Students buzzed around him, chatting, laughing, and occasionally yelling as they scrambled to beat the morning bell. Everything felt normal. Or at least, it should have felt normal. But Tadano couldn't shake the nagging feeling that something was off. He glanced down at his hands as he walked, noticing how smooth and delicate they looked. His skin was paler than usual, almost flawless, and even the faint calluses he'd developed from gripping pens and carrying books seemed to have vanished overnight. "What the?" he muttered under his breath, rubbing his fingertips together as if testing to make sure the sensation was real. "Oi, Tadano." Naime's cheerful voice jolted him out of his thought. "Why are you standing there, staring at your hands like you're trying to learn magic tricks?" Tadano quickly shoved his hands into his pockets and forced a laugh. "Oh, no reason. Just thinking about something." Naime raised an eyebrow, their signature mischievous grin already forming. "Thinking? About what? Don't tell me you've finally fallen for someone. It's Kami-san, isn't it? I knew it. You two were totally sneaking off together last night, weren't you?" "What? No." Tadano waved his hands defensively, his face heating up. "It wasn't like that. We were just..." Naime leaned in closer, cutting him off. "You were just what, Tadano-kun? Sitting under the stars, gazing into each other's eyes, sharing your deepest, most heartfelt secrets? Can you not make everything sound so weird?" Tadano groaned. Before Naime could push the teasing further, Komi walked into the classroom. As always, her presence was like a magnet, drawing the attention of everyone around her. She glided to her desk with quiet grace, her long black hair swaying gently behind her. "Good morning, Komi-san," Naime called out, waving enthusiastically. Komi paused, smiled faintly, and gave Najimi a polite nod before taking her seat. Tadano caught her eye for a split second, and she offered him the smallest of smiles before quickly looking away. "See? Totally suspicious," Najimi whispered, elbowing Tadano in the ribs. Tadano sighed, deciding it was better to change the subject than argue. "Shouldn't you be getting ready for class instead of making up weird stories about me?" Naime shrugged. "Inne, on the hon. Class can wait. This is way more fun." As the morning lessons began, Tadano tried to focus on the teacher's lecture, but he couldn't stop fidgeting. His uniform felt different. The collar of his shirt seemed to rub against his neck more than usual, and the waistband of his pants felt just a little too loose. "Maybe I'm losing weight," he thought, though he wasn't sure how. He hadn't changed his eating habits or started exercising more. If anything, he'd been eating more snacks than usual lately. He glanced down at his arm, rolling up his sleeve slightly. His skin was definitely paler than it had been yesterday. And smoother. It was as if someone had airbrushed it to perfection. "This is ridiculous," he thought, shaking his head. "I'm probably just imagining things. Maybe I need more sleep." "Tadano." He turned to see Naime, leaning over from the desk next to him, holding up a small mirror. "Hey, have you been secretly using skincare products or something? Your face looks like extra nice today." Tadano blinked. "What are you talking about?" Naime grinned, shoving the mirror closer. "I'm serious. Look at yourself. You're glowing. Did you start using one of those fancy moisturizers? Or maybe a face mask?" "You can tell me, I won't judge." Tadano reluctantly glanced at his reflection in the mirror. His heart skipped a beat. Naime wasn't wrong. "Angele now, kiwor, hanefe." His face did look different. His skin was clearer and smoother than it had ever been, with a faint, healthy glow. His jawline looked slightly softer, and his cheekbones seemed more pronounced. I guess I just slept really well last night," Tadano said, trying to sound casual. Lucky you," Najimi said, narrowing their eyes suspiciously. "Don't think I won't get to the bottom of this." Tadano sighed and turned his attention back to the lecture, though he couldn't stop his mind from racing. By lunchtime, Tadano was feeling even more uneasy. He'd brushed off Naomi's comments, but he couldn't ignore the fact that something strange was happening. His body felt lighter, leaner, and even his hands seemed smaller than they had been that morning. He made his way to the cafeteria, hoping some food would help distract him. Komi was already at their usual table, quietly nibbling on a piece of bread. When she saw him approach, she straightened slightly and gave him a small wave. "Hey, Komi-san," Tadano said, sitting down across from her. She tilted her head slightly, her eyes scanning his face. "What's up?" he asked, noticing her curious expression. Komi hesitated, then reached for her notebook. She wrote something down and slid it across the table. "Are you feeling okay?" Tadano blinked. "Huh? Yeah, I'm fine. Why do you ask?" Komi pointed at his face, then tilted her head again, as if to say, "Are you sure?" "I mean, maybe I'm a little tired," Tadano admitted. "But it's nothing serious." "Why?" Komi hesitated again, then wrote another note. "You look different." Tadano froze, his heart skipping a beat. "Different? How?" Komi frowned slightly, tapping her pen against her notebook as she thought. Then she wrote, "Your skin? Your face? You look..." She trailed off, unable to finish the thought. Instead, she gestured vaguely with her hands, as if trying to explain something she couldn't put into words. Tadano laughed nervously. "It's probably just the lighting or something. You know how classrooms can make people look weird?" Komi didn't seem convinced, but she let the matter drop. That evening, Tadano stood in front of the bathroom mirror at home, staring at his reflection. He couldn't deny it anymore. His face had definitely changed. It was subtle, but the differences were there. His jawline was softer, his lips looked a little fuller, and his eyes seemed slightly larger. His hair, which he usually kept short and neat, was already brushing against the tops of his ears. "What the hell is going on?" he muttered, running a hand through his hair. He pulled at the collar of his shirt, noticing how loose it felt around his shoulders. He took a deep breath, trying to calm himself. "Okay, Tadano. Don't freak out. Maybe it's just stress. Or a growth spurt. Or something." He splashed cold water on his face, hoping it would help clear his mind. As he dried off with a towel, he heard his mother's voice from the hallway. "Tadano, dinner's ready." "Coming," he called back, his voice cracking slightly. He winced. "Great. Now my voice is acting weird, too." As he headed downstairs, he couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning of something much bigger.